Can
We'll
I?
probably come in and out, like Melinda will probably come in and Jason will probably come in.
And we are live here at the Heart of the Dragon, and you are watching Behind the Flame, and we are here in Kalispell, Montana. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're at. I'm Aaron Cross, and before I get started with our guest this morning, I will initiate the sponsor list. Yeah. And we want to start off with do yourself a favor, stop by Kenzie's Optics, look at their webpage. They have what I consider a one-stop shop for anything optics, scopes, and what have you, even special accessories for your next adventure. 221B Tactical, they're a company who recognizes law enforcement, fire, EMS, military professionals. If you get a chance, stop there. They have some amazing kit for your next outing. Bang Energy, again, it's not your atypical, stereotypical sugar, explosive, high-powered drink. They focus more on the creatine and caffeine aspect for those that are all about the high ampage workout. John is all about it. Mm-hmm. Mark Bell Slingshots, again, a great product for those that are all about getting it heavy in the gym. It's not just a slingshot for the bench, but they also have stuff for push-ups. They also have the wraps and slings and the hip circle for activating those glutes and hips if you're having any kinds of those issues. And Taurus, do yourselves a favor. If you haven't fired one, I suggest you do. It's actually quite an amazing revolver. They also do pistols. And with that being said, we want to introduce a very no stranger to the firearms industry, Ava Flanell. She has and owns Elite Firearms and Training. And so with that being said, take her away, John.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, Aaron. We're giving stuff away.
We are giving stuff away, and do yourselves a favor, and you have to share. You have to play in order to get paid, as I like to say. And we are giving away a Enforce TFX White. It has 700 lumens, very bright for your next pistol or your rifle. And we are also giving a rifle mat, so for your next build, to keep your stuff from getting all scratched and dinged up as you're building that stuff to go.
We'll toss some gloves in.
And we're also tossing in some 221B tactical gloves in with the mix.
You hear that, Suresh? We're tossing in some gloves.
So in order for you to win, get on iTunes, share, also give us a review. We need them. We love them. Also, you can do it on Instagram. You can share it on Instagram. You can share it on Facebook, and we will notify you of who the winner might be.
So to everyone on YouTube right now, take a minute, share, like, follow, post, tag, get active.
Get active.
So we'll go around the horn quick. We're a few minutes early. We have time. Everybody's still getting the caffeine in them. Austin Webb Designs is producing his second podcast, or third. He's starting to rise up the ranks. I think it's third, too. Yeah. We'll give you 3. Thank you, Aaron, for the intro. And, of course, Haley is running around, and she's wearing ridiculous pants again today. She looks like she was attacked by Freddy Krueger in the boiler room. Those are ridiculous. Did you pay full price for those? Full price.
You pay extra for those.
Yeah, there's very little left to the imagination. There's almost no kneecap whatsoever. There's heavy thigh bulging out.
Okay.
Heavy thigh.
I wouldn't say there's heavy thigh.
There's heavy thigh, and then
you know she can make you look fat, right? She is a camera sniper. She can make you look fat.
It's ridiculous.
I think it'd be pretty easy.
It's ridiculous. If you get a chance, check out Haley's jeans. They're very high fashion. We have a guest today, great guest. I kind of initially was going to Skype this one, but I realized with Ava that she had a really good knack for the podcast game and for her knowledge of companies and firearms and kind of what she was doing. I got a better grip on what she was doing as not only an instructor, but also as someone who's been in a lot of buildings. And I have a lot of respect for that for folks that interview a lot of personalities in the business and get a chance to tour and visit a lot of facilities because they have a lot of knowledge. So I really wanted to get her in here for a couple of days to have her spend some time, not just with the team and ownership and myself, but around our facility to kind of give us some insight into what we were doing right, what we were doing wrong, and what her real thoughts were. I think she offers a lot. We spent a little time chatting last night, a little time chatting this morning, fast becoming a friend of mine that I feel I can bounce some ideas off of and get some advice from. And we did, briefly a while back, her podcast, Gun Funny. And that was, a lot of fun for our guys doing that. And I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes with all this and what it develops into. So I thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. And I appreciate it. And I want to get right into it like we do on every show. How did you get here, and how did you get to this point in life where you go from Fordham to now you're in the firearms game? And, tell a little bit about your story, what you want to get into, and kind of what led to the podcast.
So actually, believe it or not, I only shot my first gun like 6.5 years ago. And how I started was my mom was a firearms instructor. My parents, they owned a gun store and a range. So I grew up around guns, but I was always like very girly, never really cared for guns that much. And then when I turned 18, I went to school in New York City, lived there for 8 years. I worked for the New York Yankees, and I guess like 6 years ago, there was a TV show. They wanted to record a TV show with my parents, so I flew out to be on the show. And on camera, they had my mom teach me how to shoot my first gun. And I remember at the time, I couldn't even like rack the slide. I couldn't load ammo. Maybe like the first round, and then after that, I was complaining because my nail polish was chipping. So it was kind of a shit show. So off camera, my mom had to load the gun for me, and then she kind of gave me like a bunch of quick tips, and I shot really well my first time.
You were a girl's girl.
Yeah.
You were a lady.
Well, yeah. And I mean, women shoot actually pretty well, but I shot really well. The camera guys kept asking, "Are you sure this is your first time?" And so that was my first time shooting. A few weeks later, my mom died to a tragic accident, and I ended up moving back to Colorado to help my dad with the family business. And that's kind of when I got into firearms, because I really took it seriously. I didn't obviously, like, my dad was always kind of the ideas, and then my mom was like the brains behind the operation. So I didn't want my parents to, like, everything that they worked hard for to lose what they just worked hard for. So I just learned everything that I possibly could about guns. And then I would say like 6 to 9 months later, I don't know exactly when, I just decided to become an instructor. And that's kind of how I got into the industry. And I became NRA certified in like pretty much anything I possibly could. I took a bunch of classes, and I've always been a quick learner. Like I actually graduated college with a double major in 3 years. So anything that I'm like passionate about, I can learn really quickly. And if anything, I mean, I think it makes me kind of a better instructor, because all of the beginners that come through my class, and they have that fear, and it's like the minute they hold a gun, they get nervous and, palmy and stuff. And it's like, I can completely relate. And you realize that even like loading the magazine, racking the slide, you don't necessarily have to have much strength for it. It's more technique, which most people, they don't realize that, or they don't know how to explain it to beginners.
It's a lot there.
Yeah.
You touched on a lot of points. Now you get into instructing, and you kind of glaze over that like most instructors do. But instructing and teaching is really a calling. There's no doubt about it. You can't get in front of a classroom and teach students, whether it's a high school, college, shooting, it doesn't matter, unless you're kind of called to it and you feel, because that's really a service. It really is, especially in the firearms business where so much is at risk. Where does that calling come in? Because obviously you can work for your dad and you don't have to get into the instructing, you can run the books or do something. What kind of got you, kind of walk people through the, geez, I really want to instruct moment. Like, I feel like I want to do this.
So, that it's so weird that you mentioned that, because I think that that's exactly what it was, is it was a calling. It was literally like, and I know this sounds so cliche, but it was like I woke up one day and just decided to become an instructor. And I know that when I wanted to learn more about guns, I noticed that all the instructors around me, they were just like these old, like kind of FUD types.
We're going to get there.
And there wasn't any other females that I could learn from, which was really frustrating. So that's another reason why I wanted to become an instructor is, I wanted other women to have like those resources where they could learn and they wouldn't be intimidated, and they didn't have like this, drill sergeant, ex-military guy teaching them.
Easy now. We got one of those here. Easy.
Oh, I don't get offended by that whatsoever.
But it can be really, learning the gun as it is, it's really intimidating. So you want to feel comfortable with your instructor.
Yeah, and instructing, people don't realize, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm a horrible instructor. Okay, I have some of the certifications, but I'm horrible at it. I never fancy myself an instructor because I don't have the patience. You can't get up there week in and week out and fake it. You know what I mean? You have to have a passion for it.
Absolutely.
And a passion for your students. And teaching and coaching, it becomes a passion play. So do you get a lot of your energy from your students and from seeing young women? I mean, I imagine a lot of women kind of flock to your classes because women tend to like to want to learn from other women. Do you feel that that's like a place you draw a lot of energy from?
Absolutely. I would be lying if there were some days that I didn't want to go to work. I mean, when they say, like, do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, like, okay, it's BS. But once I get to that class and I meet the students, and a lot of them are super excited, like some of them are like, oh, I didn't even sleep last night, I was super excited. And that's just such a good feeling that you're teaching them something that they're excited to learn. You're teaching them something that, you know, could potentially save their life. And so I get a lot of energy from that. And even, you know, a lot of women do flock to my class, but I would say teach, you know, a lot of men as well. I'd still say it's 50-50. And even the guys, it's so nice to teach them. And at the end of the class, they're like, wow, you know, we really learned a lot from the class. And for them to just respect you as an instructor is really rewarding.
There's a high that comes from that, and I think Aaron can attest to it. You know, when you start out shooting, you're kind of always chasing that first high. You know, you're kind of like, it's like you get a little taste of the cough medicine, and you're like, geez, I want more of that. But we're always chasing that, so we chase that through maybe shooting longer range, maybe adding more tactics to it, everything else. Do you feel like you get a high off of the other students' high when they first come in? Like you mentioned, one student not being able to sleep the night before, and like when they come in, they're like, "I'm so excited!" You know, they're loading their first mag, and you're kind of like, "Oh, like this is awesome!" You know, I'm showing someone for the first time.
Absolutely, especially when they're shooting and they get their first bullseye, and you could just see the excitement. Like they turn around, they look at you, and they're just so prideful, and it's a great feeling.
That was like Austin last week. He got his first bullseye. He was so excited. You know, he was just over the moon. We were on the range, and we probably shot 1,000 rounds of 9, and right around round number 899, Austin,
I
he
guess
got
it's
it.
beginner's luck, right?
Yeah, first timer. And for the record out there, Austin's still looking for a magwell for a single stack. If anyone knows of, I'm getting the finger. So this is, you know, awesome stuff and gives me huge insight into your teaching. Where do you teach out of, and where can folks find you with the teaching stuff? So if anyone wants to sign up that's out there, that's paying attention, and we'll get back to it at the end of the show, but where can folks find you?
So I have my own facility, and if you're interested, I teach out of Colorado Springs. You can go to elitefirearmsandtraining.com, and all of the information's on there, or you could always contact me, like on Instagram or Facebook or really whatever. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Slide in to
Yep.
the DMs.
Slide into those DMs.
We'll come back to that and the effective procedure. So we're going to get right into it, because I love having sometimes females on that take what they do seriously. So there's a lot of females out there. A lot of ones to kind of draw inspiration from, and some that probably drive you crazy. What do you love about females in the gun business, and what do you hate?
Well, I love seeing other women in the industry, and I love that it's growing rapidly. And there's nothing better than meeting other women that have that same passion, and they're into guns, and instead of going shopping, you can go to the range with them. What I don't like, I guess, is women that kind of give women that take it seriously a bad name. I obviously, if I were to hang out with a bunch of girls, I mean, even the girls that you'd say, quote unquote, gun bunnies, I'd obviously rather be in the room with them than a bunch of anti-gunners. But I don't think that people realize how detrimental it is, especially because, like, there's so many women that want to get into that industry. And when they look on Instagram and they see, like, half-naked girls with the guns, I think, if anything, it sort of deters them from it.
Right.
So I'd rather more women, you know, like I'd rather be much more approachable so that women have, you know, they feel comfortable, they'll approach you, they'll ask you, hey, you know, I'm in this state, where would you recommend training, or what gun do you like? as opposed to not being approachable and seeing like it seems like you kind of like live that fake life. And again, I don't like hating on other women.
No, I don't think it's hating on other women.
Like, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, they're a gun bunny, you know,
Yeah.
screw them. But I think if anything, it's just detrimental.
I'm laughing because I don't think it's hating on other women at all. I think this is something, you know, we've talked about with every female guest. Even Tony went on a rant about it, and some of the guys do, you know, because there's gun bunnies in the male side and there's gun bunnies in the female side. And the term gun bunny, like I've said many times, the way I categorize it, and people have to understand this. We talked about this with Crispy. There's people out there on social media that at the end of the day, they're actors. They're actors. You know, they've never really had any real training, any consistent training, right? They've never formally stood in formation. They've never, you know, had to use the tactics that they study for. And we all hope in some ways that we don't, right? Like people ask me, oh, you've never shot anyone. I'm like, geez, I hope I don't. You know, I really hope I can go my whole, because I don't know how I'll react to that physiologically and mentally. So, you know, you don't know till you're there. So, you know, we all hope that. And I think Aaron can attest to that. We don't, that's, you know, you don't ever want to be in that position. I like to think I'm a good chooser of the environments I put myself in, but then again, you can't control all the variables. But I categorize gun bunnies, and I've said this many times on this podcast, the way I sleep at night, and I don't get fired up about it, because you see people, they meme and they do this and they do that. I just say it's like going to a fight, and then there's the girl that comes out, or you're at a race, and this happens too, and they hold the ring card or the lap card. They have a place. There's a place for that. And if you choose to do that type of marketing, or that's where I have the issue, I think what you're getting at is when they get out there and they put information out there that could lead to training scars or media scars. And the other component I can't stand that kind of gets on my nerves is when people start and they say, oh, Mrs. So-and-so Gun Bunny, what holster do you use? Like, you're the idiot for asking what holster they use.
Yeah.
You're the idiot. Because at the end of the day, unless they are showing and displaying consistent training, it's not a secret that I've trained all over this country with all kinds of people. It's not a secret. I got hours upon hours upon hours of training. And I still don't know what the best shit is, because there's no best in my opinion. It's what fits on my fat ass that I can run around with and what works for me. But you get these people that I think, and I've said this many times, Ava, and I want to get your thoughts. People don't realize out there, for all you guys on YouTube and you guys that watch or tune in, or the however many thousand people end up watching this, when you hit follow and like on someone's page, you're endorsing that, and you're endorsing that content. And I think people have to be cognizant of that and be careful. What do you think?
I agree. And I also can't stand the companies that use them to sell their products, because I think it speaks for their companies, like what their product is. It's, you know, you have to use a good looking person to draw attention to your product.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be squared away. Let's stick with, you know, at least that term. You have to be squared away. You have to take a little pride in your appearance. Nobody's saying you need to be a black belt and a world champion shooter and a this and a that, but at least take pride and be squared away and have your shit together would probably be a comfortable.
Absolutely.
You know, not everyone can be a member of the Falkor fitness team, male modeling team, right? Which is fucking comical in itself. I'm going to take the camera in our gunsmithing room for a little while. Love you guys. So, yeah. So you go through this journey, and now you've been to the shows, you've been a SHOT Show, you've been around the scene a little bit now. How many years?
I'd say, I guess, almost 6.
So you've been to the circus and you've seen the clowns. What companies, don't say the ones you hate, what companies do you love and have you loved working with through the years? And when you go to the shows, what's some of your favorite experiences? Plug a few companies that you love working with. And
So recently, I mean, I love Manticore Arms. They make a bunch of accessories for all kinds of guns. And, I mean, they've just been really good to me from the start. I like them. You know, I think what's important is if I like, first, you know, first what attracts you is like the product. But then when you go there and you meet the people behind that product, I think that there's been companies out there that make excellent products, and then when I meet the people representing the products, and they're just complete jerks.
Isn't that something?
I mean, it'll change my mind. I mean, just flip of a switch.
oh my God, I
And
find
there's
that that's
a lot
so
of companies out there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. There's a holster company that does that for me. Like, they make a great product, and then you meet the people, and you're like, these motherfuckers.
Yeah, and you don't want to use their product. You don't want to talk about it.
And you're just like, fuck me.
You just hope they go out of business.
Oof.
I said it.
Yep. No. So you go to the shows. Who do you love what do you love about the shows? Is it just the people watching, or?
Well, it depends what show, because SHOT Show, with each year, it's like it just gets more and more exhausting. It definitely becomes work. It's great to see all these people that you've built relationships with, and we're all kind of under the same roof. And, everybody you could, or even like people that I've met on the internet, and I could finally put a face to a name, which is awesome.
Stalkers.
And so like that's great, but it has like with each year, it's just becoming.
The energy's palpable at SHOT Show. Like, there's very high energy.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be on when you hit the floor.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, I love about the shows is just, I'm a networking guy, so I love the human interaction. But it burns you out because what people don't realize, and I'm sure you deal with this, people message you, they want to meet you, they want to spend time with you. You just don't have the time.
Exactly.
There's no time. And a lot of times, even us that are friends or becoming friends in the industry and spend time together, it's kind of like, hey, have a good see, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's great seeing you. I hope everything's good. Like, you move on to the next because you're so overwhelmed. It's just, I'd like to think I probably shake hands with 100 people a day, and that's being kind.
I hope you use sanitizer after.
I bathe. I use a loofah. I take the first layer of skin straight off.
I don't blame you, because there's been times that after SHOT Show, I'm always sick.
And it'll be Aaron's first year heading out there, and he's going to get overwhelmed with people. It's just, you're going to leave and your brain can't even process. Like, people like, and Jason does this, like, oh, I met, I'm like, Jason, you met this person. We got to send him an email. Who? You do the who was that, and you go through your cards when you come back, and it's like going through a boneyard of
Absolutely.
of people. So it's overwhelming, and I'm looking forward to it. But the people watching, second to none. It's like going to the busiest mall. Yeah, it's like going in Walmart. It's like going into Wally World, and you're kind of taking a ride around with the cart, but you're really not putting anything in it.
Yeah.
It's that kind of experience. How do you recommend a female in the firearms business to kind of tackle this industry, or kind of when they come to you and they say, Ava, I really love shooting. I shot. I enjoy your class was great. Where do I start? Like, when they're talking about buying a gun, kit, anything, what's your first recommendation? How do you send them out into the world?
Well, I recommend that they go to a gun store or gun show or something, and as far as like purchasing a gun, feel the guns, write down which ones you like, feel great in your hand. But even that's not enough. Like, everybody's like, oh, it has to feel great in your hand, but it might feel really nice in your hand, and then how it shoots and performs is like another story. So I tell them, take that list to a place that rents guns, rent those firearms, then see which ones shoot well for you. Because like, I could recommend Glock all day long, whereas like for you, maybe HK shoots better, and it's like, and there's nothing really wrong with the gun. They're both, I think, well made. It just, certain guns, because of the ergonomics, the angles, it just shoots better for me. And then, because nobody wants to buy a gun and then later on, like I always tell people, take my class first and then you could buy a gun. You could always rent guns, but a gun purchase should be something that you don't do right away, because most cases you're going to regret your purchase. And then take as many classes, like educate yourself, watch YouTube videos. Like, obviously, take it with a grain of salt, because there's people giving a lot of bad information out there, but education is key. And that's what I did when I first started, is I just couldn't get enough. I tried to educate myself as much as possible. And mostly because, like, being a female in the industry, people are constantly going to question your expertise and your knowledge.
No.
And believe it or not.
I call it sifting. When you bring up YouTube, you kind of like you don't want people going to YouTube, but I call it sifting. Sift through. And what I say is, find someone, whether it's like yourself or someone like, when I started out, there was an instructor and a gentleman who had shot semi-professionally, amateur, pistol. He was like the best in the club. Find that person and attach yourself to their hip for a little while. Shoot a little while. Train with them. Get to know everything you can. you're going to outgrow instructors, just like you're going to outgrow certain things. The gun you're going to shoot now might not be the gun you shoot later for a number of reasons. You may start out and you might say, geez, I really like this shield, but that's going to be my concealed carry gun, but I really prefer to outbody carry a 19 or a 17. You're going to have kit and items you're going to purchase that are going to be for off-body, for on-body, for different situations and for different reasons. And when you make those suggestions, a lot of people look for a catch-all. Like, Ava, give me the one answer that's going to cure everything.
Definitely.
And there's not one. Because if I asked Jason, if I asked Jason in long range or asked you in barrels, there's not a cure-all.
That's like saying there's that one tool for every situation that's broken. That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just, it's not there.
No.
Now, can you get some stuff like, I had a great gunsmith who was a mentor to me, and many people who follow the IG interwebs know him. Lou Biondo down at Business End Customs, he was kind of like a mentor to me when I was starting out and I was, starting to understand firearms. He mentioned to me, he's like, you need to only own 5 guns in your lifetime. Everything else is window dressing and bullshit. You need to own 5 guns. And his 5 guns were a shotgun, an AR, a Glock, a bolt gun, 10-22 or higher if you can handle it, because long range isn't for everybody. I can't get out there and do sometimes what Jason does and even Andy and shoot 2 miles. It's not like something on the regular for me. And a good concealed carry gun, a good training gun / concealed carry gun. And I train with a 17, I carry a 19 primarily. And that's what I explain to people. And they say, well, why do you train with a 17 then? I say, because it gives me a little bit more forgiveness. It's a better training tool for me. And it's kind of I'm going to beat it up and throw it in the mud gun. And my carry gun, I baby a little bit more. And I keep it a little bit more stock. But that's how I approach it. And everybody's approach is going to be different. But I imagine with women, and I want to get your thoughts on it, there's so many options out there. You got bags now, pants, pockets, belts. There's so much stuff out there for women to sift through. For a guy, it's like, hey, give me a holster and an IWB and I'll throw it in my pants. Where do you begin in kind of sifting through the accessories, if you will, for lack of better words, with women? Because I'm really curious, because I've had a few women on, but you're an instructor, you're out there teaching it. What do you look at and what companies do you like? And maybe companies you just kind of like what they're doing and the direction they're going in. Like, if I'm advising a lady, should I say, hey, go buy this tactical bag with like this button that drops the gun down? Like, where do you begin?
I think choosing a holster for somebody is almost as difficult as choosing a gun for somebody, because everyone's body is different, and what works really well for me is not going to work well for them. There's people that, depending on their situation, maybe they have a day job where they're at their desk all day and they prefer to carry on their ankle, whereas, if you're not going to be sitting down most of the time, ankle holsters aren't really as ideal. You can't access them as quick. There's a lot of crappy products out there as well. I mean, there's products that I can't even believe people are buying and that they're still in business.
Like some of the bra holsters?
The bra holsters, initially when it came out, I thought that was ridiculous. And not to mention, nobody wants like added weight, like something pulling down on your bra. Because as you get older, gravity's going to take place anyways.
And I don't mean to pick on the bra holsters, but that's a controversial
Yeah,
one.
no, it
Comes
totally
up.
is. And then I went to SHOT Show one year and they had a booth where they were allowing people to try it out. And I tried it and I walked around and I was like, wow, this is actually a pretty legit design. It's not bad. I mean,
You were sold on it.
It has nice retention. It's easily accessible. It's not going to prevent you from moving around. Like inside the waistband doesn't always work for me, because I feel like it takes away from, just, okay, when I get in and out of my car, when I bend over to tie my shoe, it's not that comfortable. Whereas like the bra holster, I mean, it's right there. Women put stuff in their bras all the time. Lip gloss, phones, you name it, it's there.
Yeah. I have to see. I got to get a demo when I'm at SHOT.
So it's just a strap that goes on the front of your bra, and then your bra kind of goes over the holster, and then it's like a taco shell, like a clam shell sort of, and you just pull it out. When used well, it is safe, and it has great retention, and I think that the flashbang holsters, the ladies that designed it, I think that they really thought outside the box and they took women's body types into consideration. And I don't hate them.
What about the bags?
I mean, any instructor is going to say, off-body carry is an ideal. I do live in the real world where I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a gun in my purse, usually 95% of the time. But I make sure that I'm extremely responsible with it. I am a germaphobe, as you can probably already tell.
Yeah.
I know I'm like kind of being a pain in the ass since I've been visiting. But even when I go shopping, the bag's always on my shoulder. I don't even put it in my purse. So there are women like that where they keep their bag extremely close to them. They practice drawing from it religiously. But if you're the type that you're just going to, you're not going to be within a few feet of your bag at all times, absolutely do not practice, don't carry in your bag because you're just asking for an accident to happen.
Yeah. Daryl actually on YouTube said, I can't believe I'm talking to someone who worked for the Yankees. Daryl, it's pretty simple. How many World Series have the Yankees won since the year 2000, and how many have the Red Sox won?
You're asking me. I'm pretty sure I got the job because I didn't follow sports. They just assumed I wouldn't stalk the players.
I was answering Daryl's question. Daryl, when you give me those figures, you'll understand why. Anytime you have something to hang over a New Yorker, you may as well go with it. So
They to correct it though, they are the greatest baseball franchise.
That's true.
yeah, the Patriots know the feeling too.
Yeah, so
Dallas hasn't won anything since the 90s. Give me a break.
they've won a couple of games.
Yeah, here and there.
Here and there.
They got a puppet for a coach.
Yeah,
So we digress.
we're gonna have a bunch of Cowboys players just hating on us.
Seriously.
I guess I lost you at bra holster.
So coming back to, I like to acknowledge our YouTube guys. I don't want to leave them hanging. So coming back to products, there's pants that have come on the scene, tactical pants. Do you create a criteria for women coming to the range to train with you on what they should wear? Is there like a recommended, or do you get like people that show up in Cry precision pants and a fucking plate carrier, and you're like, no, this isn't that kind of class?
It's happened. Really, I don't send out a list and tell them what they should be wearing. I think that you should train in what you wear every day. You're not always, if you wear 5'11" gear and you're all tacked out every day, cool, go to the range with that. But if you are usually wearing jeans and, just a t-shirt, then absolutely train with that because you're not going to have 5'11" gear in a real life situation if you ever had to use your firearm.
Train how you fight,
Yeah.
to quote Pat. Train
Hey,
how
if you want to
fight.
come to the range with flip-flops, just know, casings are probably going to hit your feet, but if that's what you wear all the time, we'll train you in flip-flops.
There's not enough beach attire trainings out there. I think that's something
That's something maybe you should look into.
we should look into.
Business idea.
Yeah, we bathing suit and flip flops. That'll fucking spike the internet, right?
It's suntan oil.
Suntan oil, get nice and greased up, and then we'll go to the range. That's perfect, Jason. You'll fit right in. So all this women's stuff kind of comes on the market the last couple of years, and we've seen this explosion, like you said, in the women's market. It's really exciting to be a woman in the firearms business right now, I think, because I feel like every third booth I see now at shows is something geared towards the women's market. Is it not an exciting time for this?
It is. I think because it's the fastest growing market, there's so many women getting involved in the firearms industry that companies are dying to create products that are directed towards women, but I don't think that they're doing it in the correct way. We've seen it time and time, they'll create, same gun, but they'll color it pink or purple. Cool, now it's the female line. So there's a lot of the companies that are coming out, I don't think are being created by women, and I don't think that they understand. Even as an instructor, if I have large classes, I'll have other instructors assist me, and even drawing your gun from your holster, it's different. They'll usually teach you, okay, grab up here to your chest, but most women, it doesn't feel like you're not going to grab your boobs and pull out your gun.
It's not natural.
So you pull, and I'll get into arguments with other male instructors because they don't understand just the anatomy is different.
Yeah, as Paul Sharp likes to say, you don't want to print or pre-show what you're going to do
Yeah.
if you're going to train that way.
Yeah. No, I agree. I hadn't actually even thought of that, the single hand.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you'll see most men, they grip their chest, high up, whereas women, you're not going to grip your breasts and then draw.
It creates an awkward
You're
motion.
usually going to grab down,
Yeah.
So it's you kind of have to work with students that have different body types and different, and I don't think guys realize that.
No, I hadn't even thought of that myself. I guess I'm not.
Makes total sense.
There you
Yeah.
go. You learned something today.
I did. So you see all these different products coming on the scene. We talked about the bra holster. How do you feel about pants? We were talking about pants the other night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to name the company, but do you feel like like you said, they're missing the mark with female clothing in the marketplace, and just like it's way off? Or because like I know with men, we have tons of options. We have so many different options to choose from, and you can find something for the most part. I prefer like my jeans. I wear like the stretchier jeans, the barbell apparel stuff, the cool clothing. That's what I prefer. Do you feel like they're just like totally missing the mark, and there's like a guy somewhere that's 300 pounds that's designing these things? I mean, how far off are they, and are they close, and who's the closest, and who do you usually recommend, especially for outerwear or?
I would say clothing's a little difficult because unless you're going to wear that clothing every day, like the tank tops that have, the holsters on the side, it's like, okay, cool. Like I don't wear the same bra every day. So why would you wear the same tank top every day? So now you have to buy like 7 of them, and it gets expensive. And, so it's like, it just depends. There are there's companies out there like Danae Adams. Have you ever seen her videos where, she always puts on the lipstick first, then she like manages to draw like 20 other
I've heard of her, yeah.
hidden.
Yeah, she's got the girders. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like those holsters would work for my body type, but she does a hell of a job concealing those guns.
Is she the one she pulls out like 20 guns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, like were the 5'11" legging pants like a step in the right direction? Was that like, okay, like there's an option?
I do. So I actually do own those 5'11".
Like who's stepping in the right direction in your opinion? Like who's getting close?
So
No one.
yeah, there is still something like, I wish I could say, oh, I love this company and they've done an excellent job and I wear it every day, but
This women's market's a huge miss.
It is. Well, and do you wear leggings every day? Do women, like some women do and other women don't. So it's like however you're going to train, you want to be consistent with it. Because maybe one day, and it's like
a whole new world for me.
you go to grab your gun and you think that it's going to be, in your leggings where your holster is.
Entering
and,
this-
didn't wear those pants.
Going
today.
into this podcast, I thought we had so many options that were like viable
But we
options.
don't.
Now you're like,
And that's why I told you before, and I was like, I don't think it's a good topic to talk about because I don't have I don't have a lot of great things
you
to say
should start a
about it.
company.
I should, right?
Seriously. There's like a thirst for that.
Yeah.
Well, it almost goes even on the guy side, though. There's so many companies that are so focused on the tactical side versus the applicable side.
Absolutely.
Your everyday living dude. So, like, I don't necessarily wear the same stuff, holster, pistol, what have you, day in, day out. It all depends on, am I riding in the truck? Am I driving the car? Am I riding the motorcycle? Like, all that stuff applies. And I can only imagine it gets, like, 10 times worse for a woman versus a guy. But, the companies even miss the mark, even on the guy's side.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Aaron. I think it's over tacked out. I find myself wearing, like I said, the brand of jeans I end up wearing is Barbell Apparel. It has nothing to do with the firearms business. They're just stretchier jeans that are more athletic than anything that I can actually move my fat ass in. And then usually I wear like cool clothing because I prefer like the looseness of them and just how they feel on me. I can't wear like Gucci clothes or anything like that. It's just it doesn't suit me. I don't like to go out like that. But yeah, I definitely think that there's room for improvement so much in that space, especially soft goods. Mr. Tight Jeans himself, Jason Sanju, wants to chime in, as I'm sure he has a point.
Tight jeans here.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but
And they're pretty tight.
are they?
Yeah, they're pretty tight.
Well, just so you know,
legs are growing.
I don't pick my clothes. Melinda does all that for me.
I've been hassling Jason for a couple weeks because he's getting bigger. He's physically getting bigger. And he was walking around today with these jeans on, and I could see his pulse in these jeans. Yeah. And they're starting to ride up the butt.
I was like, I hope he doesn't drop something. It's just going to be.
Yeah, split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
And the tops are getting, a little shorter and shorter.
Okay, he's not laughing.
Yeah, but he's getting buff. That's the whole thing. He's getting shit.
Well, I got to keep up on that Falkor male bodybuilding image. That
Exactly.
People are memeing this on.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
So that brings the next question. How do you feel about that intersection of fitness and competing and mixed martial art, all the different things that are coming in now to the firearms business, and how do you incorporate that into your training? And what do you feel? You feel there's a natural intersection there of just being fit and being squared away and training and bringing all those elements together? You feel like that's a natural progression of this business? And we were talking a little bit about, like, how it used to be, I'm 300 pounds and I'm just going to get a concealed carry permit and that's going to be good.
Yeah. So, well, I think obviously fitness and stuff is important, especially when you're training to, protect yourself. If you're 300 pounds and you have your gun, I mean, it's obviously better than not having a gun, but you do want to make sure that you have that strength. And I personally have actually been working out just because I want to feel stronger, not so much to look good, but more so that I can, if I had to fight or something, I would be able to fight for that much longer. Because if you don't train and it's like you get tired really easily, you're not going to last. And I'm not being paranoid by doing that. I'm just, kind of being real. Like nowadays, like the world it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there with training and people that are lifting weights and doing, whether it's jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or anything else. There's a lot of people that are well trained, and there's even criminals trying to sign up for the training and get advanced training. So you have to vet and be careful, but they're out there, and there's an element that you have to be prepared for.
Absolutely. And if you do take up other training like jiu-jitsu, karate, I mean, at that, it's just all adding to your skill set. I think it's absolutely a great idea.
Yeah. So do you push that on your students, or do you encourage them to eat healthy, or do you have, I'm going to pick on, do you have somebody walk in that's morbidly obese and you're like, you need to do something?
No, I don't.
So you don't get into
I
the whole
feel-
self-defense side, or just kind of like, hey.
Well, I think that they realize that they're kind of out of shape because when they go to the range, I mean, you're holding the gun out in front of you for long periods of time. And even if you are in shape, there's not a lot of things that we do nowadays where we have our hands out in front of us. So we don't have that strength. And they realize, even the woman that we had dinner with last night, she was saying that when, she's a black belt, but when she was shooting, she didn't realize how much, how physical it was. And it is kind of straining on your muscles. And, and I think that they kind of realize for themselves that they do have to kind of get into shape if they're going to shoot regularly and take this seriously.
It's a different kind of strength. And
It is.
every skill set you have is going to contribute to the whole, but you're not going to fully understand until you do it. Mm-hmm. It's safe to say. So you have all these different students that come through. Do you have anyone that's kind of grown beyond you? And when they grow beyond you, what do you recommend for them at the next step? Like when someone takes, like, whatever it is, your level 1, level 2, level 3, when they get to that point, are you one of those instructors that's like, hey, you're really progressing, you're doing well, I recommend this? Mm-hmm. And what do you recommend for those types of students?
It's usually other local instructors.
Okay.
I have a pretty good relationship with all of the local instructors. I don't see them as competition. And there's, they'll send a lot of people my way. I'll send people their way. So it kind of goes, it works out. It's beneficial.
I have a question on perception.
Mm-hmm.
You're a businesswoman. You're successful. Great podcast. I've seen your pages. When you're out on the range, do you feel that the perception of women shooters is starting to rise? In other words, have you ever seen or ever been involved where, you're just a woman. What do you know? Mm-hmm. This is a male-dominated industry. What are you doing in this industry? And
You're not man enough.
the second question is where do you see the industry going as far as women business owners? Because obviously Mel's a business owner. Mm-hmm. So if you could speak a little bit about that, I'd love to hear it.
So, like with the range, when I first started, I would notice, I would be sometimes the only woman on the range. And it was really kind of intimidating. I felt like they were always watching me to see, how well I shot or how I handled the guns because they just kind of assumed that I didn't know anything. And even to this day, I'll have, guys come up to me and be like, oh, have you tried this? Or, your stance. And it's like, okay. And meanwhile, I'll look at their target and it's just like, obviously, you don't really know what you're doing. But that's where I'd say, like, knowledge really comes into play because with anything that I've ever done in my life, anytime somebody's ever questioned my ability to do something, I just educate myself and practice and basically prove them wrong. And that's what I've done with the industry. Anybody who thinks that I don't know how to handle guns or I have no knowledge about the topic, any chance that I get to educate myself, I do so. There is a lot of women that are creating businesses that are in this industry and they're killing it. And just in general, not even the firearm industry, but the industry, in all of these industries, there's a lot of women rising to the occasion and creating really successful businesses, and it's really great to see.
And why do you think that is? I mean, why do you think that is rising?
Well, I think, because maybe back in the day it was, seen as the woman's spot was, at home cooking and now it's like it's okay for women not to have kids or maybe not to get married. Like, I'm in my 30s. I don't have kids. I'm not married. Mm-hmm. And there are some people that question it and ask me, like, when am I going to have kids? And I hate that because I don't even think I'm going to have kids. But it is now, it's seen as, it's okay now to put your career ahead of everything else and kind of take sort of that more dominant role.
Right. You know what? I think it's good. It's tremendous for the industry. Me and Mel promote women inside our organization. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, we have women in our organization that have predominant roles here. And I think it's becoming more acceptable. I think women are more than capable. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, they even outperform the men.
More patient.
Yeah.
They are. I've been whipped by women on the range. And I'm
More
not
patient.
even afraid to say that.
Yeah.
And it's not about being a jock or a stud or tactical. It's just because, practice and efficiencies and going to the range, it is what it is. Long distance, tactical, pistol. So kudos to you for all that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Coming off of that, what women inspire you and where do you draw some energy from? I know we mentioned a couple names before the show. What women are you looking at out there and you're like, I really like the way they're doing it?
Julie Golub has always been
And she's
a
on
huge
tomorrow.
inspiration, yes, and I'm excited. She handles herself so well, and she's always super positive. And I think that she's a great role model. Like, she represents women extremely well in the industry. Tatiana Whitlock, I don't really know her that well, but I recently had her on my podcast, and then I also joined her on a podcast called This Week in Guns, and she blew me away with her knowledge. Like, even when I had her on my podcast, like, I could barely talk because I was like, wow, she's just so incredible, and I felt like it just kind of, I couldn't even talk because, like, sometimes you're in the presence of, like, such strong women that you're just, like, in awe over. And I thought she was, incredible, and she's doing an awesome job.
I've always looked up to Julie. That's why having her on tomorrow. I know we only get her Skype, but I've always looked the way she's carried herself, her approach, being, she's the consummate professional. Reminds me a little of JJ in that sense. You'll never get a bad thing out of JJ. Like, you have to twist his arm.
Right.
Julie's been the same way, and we've always had like a good rapport, and I'm looking forward to having her on just to talk, just to hear her thoughts on things. And she's been an inspiring one to me. I don't know much about Tatiana, but I've heard great things from everybody that's known her. She'd be great to have on. But I think you picked some really great folks to kind of draw energy from, and it comes back to me, saying earlier, it's so important who you hit, like, and follow, and how they influence you, and how you're going to draw energy from those folks. And if it's negative energy, you're going to be negative. If it's positive energy, you're going to be positive. And it's really important when you're paying attention to your social interwebs to kind of make sure that you aren't just following something because, hey, I'm going to follow this person because I think that their stuff is cool. You're going to draw energy from that, good and bad. So be very cognizant of that. And I think that that's so understated. You know, people just blindly hit follow, and they'll follow something. And if it's negative shit, you're going to get negative, and you can't pick better people. And especially Julie, she's so positive. I mean, she sings on some of her stories and stuff. She's like singing about, and she wrote a children's book or something, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and I believe she was Army or Army Reserve. She's one of those gals. We'll get the details tomorrow, but there's so much. There's so much to draw from her as an inspiration. Of course, Jason touched on women owners. You know, having Melinda as a female owner, you know, it's huge, and I know it's a passion project of us here to incorporate so many of the women's value set and understanding kind of how and what inspires them and where they draw energy from. And women are a huge growing segment. I mean, there's no doubt.
Well, when you told me yesterday that Melinda insisted on having, you know, so many women per men, like, I loved hearing that, because
All the time.
I think that, you know, and like, whenever possible, to shine light on women that are doing an excellent job in the industry, I think it's just extremely important. And I don't think that a lot of companies do it enough.
So let me get your thoughts on a couple things. Social media, good or bad thing for the industry?
I think it's excellent.
You got to go deeper.
I'm like, what's that look for? I mean, it's a great way for companies to advertise their product. People are on social media. They're on there because they want to. You're not like putting it in their face where you're, you know, they're watching TV and they're here to watch the movie, and then, you know, ads pop up, or radio. So it's extremely beneficial for companies. And I don't know.
Do you feel like I was talking about earlier, like people need to do a better job compartmentalizing pages in their mind? Like you know, we talked about the Gun Bunny thing, but like I said earlier, some people need to accept they're actors, and some people need to accept that another sect might be just an ad page. Like they're posting ads, they're paid to. That's okay. You know, if you're okay with it, that's okay. But people need to compartmentalize some things better, and they won't be as angry about it. Like, people tend to get like angry, like, oh, can you believe what so-and-so did? Or can you believe what this one did? And I feel like, no, dude, you're just not looking at it right. Like, compartmentalize it. That person's an actor. They're acting, you know? And, you know, I think social media is a great thing. I think some people shouldn't put training out on social media, and I want to get your thoughts on that. I think some people go too deep, and they give away what we call like trade secrets, you know? And no, like Tony says, like, we want you to buy a class, you know, to learn that. And we want to vet the person. Don't put that out there that way. And do you feel like that there's some of that going on, and that could be a negative or a downfall of social media as an instructor?
Well, I don't think that people should watch like YouTube videos and stuff and just assume that, cool, now you know how to do it. But I think it's beneficial to an extent, because people sometimes, when they watch these videos, they realize how much they don't know how to do, or it opens their mind to, you know, other types of training. So, I mean, I think with anything, there's pros and cons.
I draw the line at like dry fire. Like, put dry fire out there, but when people start getting into techniques and moving and shooting and certain stuff, I feel like that's something that should be taught in person, and you should be, you know, vetted, and it shouldn't be something you just throw out there, because I know like the next craze in instructing is going to be online training. And you know companies, and we both know companies that are already doing it.
Yeah. I know even the NRA is doing online training,
How
which
does
I
it
don't
make you
agree
feel?
with.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of instructors were worried that it would take away from their business, but it hasn't. I know in Colorado, people have to actually show up to the class. Online classes aren't good enough for them to get their concealed carry permit.
Somebody asked a good question. They said, do you both maybe feel the industry falls victim to politics in regards to celebs shaping those entire worlds? It comes back to what I said, H. Diesel 308, and I'll get Ava's thoughts. I think it's about compartmentalizing who you're following. And if you're following someone who's a quote-unquote IG celebrity, look a little deeper. See what training they've had. See who's vouched for them. See where they've been and what they've done. Get some understanding. I can attest that if Tony's putting something out there based on his background and training and where he comes from, it's probably a pretty good training tool. Now, is it for everybody? Because half the time he's lighting himself on fire and jumping through tires and everything else. No, it's not for everybody. But you have to do a better job compartmentalizing what you're seeing. If you see a shoot fast guy, and we talk about this a lot, there's a lot of shoot fast guys. I've posed the question, and I'll pose it to any shoot fast guy. You see the people draw, and they're like, under 1 second, motherfucker. I'm like, tell me in what police report you're going to be able to articulate that, because I'm confused.
Yeah.
Having done the job, I don't know. Because I know if somebody holds a gun to my head and says, give me your wallet, I'm not going to risk, even if I was sub 1 second, I'm not going to change. I'm going to, here's my wallet. Thank you, and I'll see you. But, you know, I don't know where that sub 1 second draw comes in, because once he turns his back, I'm not going to shoot him in the back. That's not going to be easy to articulate, right? I mean, so you have to compartmentalize things. And what are your thoughts?
I completely agree. You do. You have to absolutely question the source and where they're getting these ideas from. Because there are just a lot of people that, you know, spout just things that I don't think they even realize if they're true or not.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to some of those people that kind of focus on that training aspect and in one aspect or another, i.e., so a lot of guys will get into that whole warning shot scenario, which is like dude,
Illegal.
it's illegal for one. Two, you're not in a third world country where that's part of your escalation of force, right, or rules of engagement. So I think a lot of people can kind of get in that really weird rabbit hole of dangerous instruction. You know, we're talking about U2 stuff. I think it's on you to do your own homework as far as like what instructors are out there teaching what. I think it's up to you to kind of, like, you know, John was saying, compartmentalize, you know, what they're going through, what they're doing, what they're teaching, how they're applying it, and does that really apply to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt you have to do your vetting of where your source material's coming from. I highly doubt, you know, Melinda's going to take hunting advice from someone who's in a bikini, you know, saying like, geez, I really love this blind, and when I put my perfume on, like, you have to come you know, I mean, that's insane. But it happens. And
Well, I've come across instructors. I'm not going to say what their name are, but I mean they're patting themselves in the back on being, you know, highly NRA, but they couldn't tell me what a damn dovetail safety was. I'm like, are you really? So you instruct people for a living?
and they get paid money,
You
US
know,
dollars.
what's scary about this, though, is I'll have a lot of people come through my classroom and they're like, well, you know, my neighbor, he's a cop, and he said, you know, if I have to shoot somebody, make sure I kill them so they can't come back and sue me. And I hear that so many times. And so that's another thing. Like, here a police officer is giving you this advice, so you think that it's going to be true. And I'm like, no, trust me, like, you don't want to use excessive force. It's going to work against you.
Those are the kind of people I like to call shithouse lawyers.
Yeah. And you have to go through the use of force pyramid. As a civilian, you know, we go through in the academy and kind of the escalation of force, like Aaron touched on, and you have to understand those things. And, you know, like I said, I posed the question, and I'll have any shoot fast guy on the show. I would love to hear their articulation, because you're going to face a jury, you're going to face people, and explain that to me. Talk me through that, where that is going to make sense. I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. It's good to train for. You should be smooth. You should be fast. Nobody should be drawing in 5 seconds. I mean, shit, that's terrible. But, I mean, they harp on it, and they spend too much time on it. Like, I was at SIG. I got clocked legitimately. I was a 1-1 from the holster to the target, you know, hitting A zone at 5 feet. But I'm still not going to chance it if someone says, give me your wallet.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that chance. So we talk a lot about those types of training scars, and you ask a good question, H. Diesel. I mean, definitely check your sources, check your source material. I think we all can attest to that, and be careful who you're paying attention to. Watch them for what they are. Entertainment sometimes. It's entertaining to see Max Michel get up there and drop a plate rack in 0.9 seconds. I mean, that shit is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's insane. But I doubt Max is going to be like, you know what? You know, someone has a gun to his head and says, give me your wallet. I highly doubt Max is going to risk his family and his body to be like, you know what, I dropped a plate rack in 0.9, so I'm going to take a chance here. And I know Max personally. He's not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's just, you got to understand where it all fits. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and be smooth. Everybody wants to create a good student, you want to be a good instructor. You want to give them good habits. And we all want that. But I think it's important to check your source material always. So we've covered so much, and we've gone in like 100 directions. I want to ask you, you've toured the facility today. You walked around. You saw the guns. You got to handle a bunch of them. You spent some time, kind of getting to know us. What do you think of Falkor? What do you think we're doing here?
I think it's amazing. I think, like what I expected and what I've gotten so far is, much more than I expected. It's really incredible how you guys could literally just take a block of steel and just create like such a, it's a masterpiece. It's really incredible. You guys are doing an awesome job. Love the facility. It's really like the layout and everything. It's super clean. Even the Cerakote room, I'm like, you guys do Cerakote in here? Because it's like really clean. It's an incredible facility.
Yeah, and you got to kind of understand a little bit of what's cooked into it and even see some secret squirrel projects. We have some cool stuff coming, and we talked a little bit about that with Crispy, and you were the second person to kind of get some hands on some things. How do you feel about the podcast and the way we approach media? And I know you're a media savant. You're big into this. You have a podcast of your own. Do you think that's the way to go and the way firearms companies should go? Do you feel like we're going in the right direction? What are your thoughts? I respect your opinion.
Well, I don't think every company needs a podcast. You guys are very good at it. You're a great host. I think you do, good job asking questions and stuff. And social media, you guys are totally rocking it.
What about the co-host? I got to give myself a pep,
You're okay.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's for every gun.
John beats me with a stick, so.
Yeah.
I can tell. That's what, just don't let the fear get you.
I don't think it's fear. I think, you're absolutely right. I don't think it's for everybody. It's a media we wanted to explore and something we wanted to look at. And I thought it made a lot of sense for us and where we were at in our progression. We obviously did very well on the Instagram and with the photo stuff from the very beginning. I felt like this was the next layer to add. And the suggestion I would give anybody out there is, if you're not killing it in one space, don't go to another space.
Yeah.
Don't spread yourself too thin. But here, I felt like the opportunity was right for the brand and for everybody. We had such a great network, and we had so many great friends and folks that we felt it was time, to start to bring some of these folks in, show them what we were doing here, give them a glimpse into what it really takes to produce a firearm. And I don't think anybody else out there is doing it this way. And I like to think that you'll have a great experience the next 24 hours that you're here and kind of helping me co-host and giving us some of your input on this medium that we're exploring. And I'm looking forward to kind of your input and your thoughts and what you think we're doing right and what you think we're doing wrong. And I don't think it's for everyone, but I know Vortex has come on the scene with one the last couple of years. We've seen Q, we've seen you, obviously Firearms Network, you guys, it goes without saying. And it gets real thin after that as far as gun companies consistently doing it, I think.
So what I've noticed is a lot of them will start a podcast. They realize how much work actually goes into a podcast, which it's not just like, all right, cool, put the cameras
Throw a
on.
mic.
We're gonna, it's like, it can be exhausting at times. And so you'll see eventually they start to die off. They'll have a few podcasts or a few episodes, and then they pretty much just call it quits.
Call it quits. It's been a passion project for me and for us here, and I know for Mel and Jason, to really get folks through the door and show them what we're doing and have a good experience and walk away and say, geez, I didn't get to see a machine spin a rail before. Like, that's really cool. To see it go, like you said, from a block of steel to a firearm to a receiver set, and have folks enjoy that experience. And I'm really glad you had the opportunity to come out and do that, and I'm looking forward to your thoughts on how we do things and how we approach things, and really learning and getting some input. And that, homogenous relationship, I feel, was missing in the firearms business for a while. But I like to think we're bringing it back, and we're putting some of that in, because I think people were afraid to have people in there. Oh no, we can't have people in.
There's also a lot of companies that will claim that everything's in-house, and then they're not.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said it. You were the first one to say it. I'm so glad you were able to come
That crossed
here.
my mind when I was touring the place. I'm like, wow, you guys actually do everything in-house.
Yeah, I would feel very comfortable saying 90% of the gun Mel's made here. I mean, yeah, of course you
That's
can
impressive.
look. Yeah, I'm sure you find a couple accessories on there. Of course, we use a Hogue grip and a Mission First stock or a Luth, and I mean that goes without saying. We're not going to try to get into that polymer or rubberized game, and we can't do everything in the building. But yeah, I mean we can shoot a gun without those components for sure. We're doing most of it here, and we're going to continue to do most of it here, and continue to do more here. And that's the idea. And the more guests we have in and the folks we have out like yourself, it's great to draw energy from you guys and get your input. And I know you'll be on tomorrow with Julie. That'll be awesome. And I know you're going to take kind of the reins and show me how it's done a little bit.
I don't know about that.
I'm looking forward to that.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So it'll be good. No, and I'm going to learn a lot from you, Ava, and I appreciate you coming out. And part of this journey is for me to learn as well, kind of how others do it and do it better. I mean, I went out and did Mark Bell's podcast, did some other folks around the industry, and I was learning as I went kind of how people approached it and how they did things. And I'm always open to suggestions and learning and getting better and having folks kind of give me some insight into what makes sense for them and what makes a good brand and what makes a brand successful. Thank you for coming.
I think honestly having that mindset as it is makes you successful, because you automatically are like, all right, I may not be doing it the correct way completely, and I'm always open to suggestions, which most companies or people cannot handle that.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
yeah. I can't be closed-minded. I mean, Melinda would never allow it for one, but I can't be like, my way is the absolute best way, and this is how we're going to do it, and boom. I approach it this way. My way is the best way till you show me otherwise. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that. I assume everyone in the room is smarter than me till shown otherwise. I have some great ideas. There's no best. There's no best. My team will always come to me and say, hey, like, I am as disorganized as shit. You've been in my office.
yeah.
It's a train wreck.
Yep.
But I have people around me that are better at that. Just like, I'm not going to say anything, but a certain owner could be on Hoarders Buried Alive. And we all want to get better, right? Like Melinda will be like, stay the fuck away from me. I'm organizing my shit, because we all can get better. Aaron is a stickler for being systematic. If I move something, he'll know it's moved in his area. We all can get better at certain things, and I think we all have our personality cues. But I think being open, you're absolutely right. You have to be open to suggestions and looking at things and self-analysis, and I think that that's critical. And it's lost a lot because we work in such a tough business, and here's how big my dick is. And that's just not the way to be, right? It's just, you can attest to that, and that's what you went through a little bit on the range and in your practice and coming up. We should never be that way, right?
Correct.
So, what?
Oh, I was just going to say, for those who are listening, don't forget to click or hit the button, the little,
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit the thumbs up, guys.
It's a good
You
way
heard
to,
it. It's a good way to plug the podcast and the YouTube. You heard it from Ava herself.
That's okay. Already I'm giving you some suggestions,
See? I didn't plug that enough. You have to tell me like every 15 minutes to plug the weather. It's 32 degrees outside in Kalispell, Montana. So to all you out there, I thank Ava for coming in. I thank her personally. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're going to have an action-packed afternoon. I know Haley's going to get with you a little bit. We'll have some lunch. We're going to have a good afternoon together, and I'm definitely interested in hearing your thoughts. You'll be on tomorrow, so I don't have to do too many goodbyes today. But sincerely, thank you for taking a chance and taking the trip out here, and I appreciate it.
I'm not going to lie. I've been dropping pins to all my friends, letting them know where I am just in case.
In case we abduct you and throw you in a trunk. There might be a few suspect people. I'm definitely not in the business of updating full-grown adults. I have enough bills. So we appreciate it, and I'm going to throw it to you to whatever you want to plug, where people can find you and what the best way to contact you is.
Okay. So if you guys are interested in listening to my podcast, it's Gun Funny. And you can either go to gunfunny.com, or I'm also on the Firearms Radio Network. And you just go to
Firearms Radio, screen,
firearmsradionetwork.com/gunfunny. And I'm also on Instagram, Elite Firearms and Training, as well as Gun Funnies on Instagram, Gun Funny Podcast.
There's Elite Firearms Training right there. What's the best way to contact you? Is it like slide in the DM, use the email?
Really just, yeah, I'd say email's probably your best bet.
Don't slide in the DM.
I do check my DMs. There's a lot that you can kind of swift through pretty quickly, but I would say email's probably your best bet.
You have a DM story? You have a stalker?
I have so many DM stories. I have
Can
one
you give
guy.
a quick one?
Okay, so I have this one guy that I talked to him like a few times. He has a YouTube channel.
Here we go.
And next thing I know, somebody messages me and they're like, hey, do you know this person? And I didn't even know who they were talking about at first. And they're like, I think he follows you on Instagram. And they showed me a picture and they're like, yeah, he hooks up with his sister. And I'm just like, all right, I don't care. Like,
Hey,
just show me who it is. I'll block them and just leave me alone. And now I have people that keep creating like fake. I keep blocking them, and they're creating more profiles, and they keep sending me pictures of him hooking up with his sister. And
Oh
then
my God!
Yeah.
You didn't say that earlier.
And then the guy. So I was like, I don't know if he's getting, if like people just hate him, like maybe it's a mad ex-girlfriend or something. Really, I don't care. I don't have time to deal with the drama. But then that guy that I blocked, he actually wrote on my YouTube channel, hey, I can't find Ava on Instagram anymore. I just wanted to reach out, make sure everything was okay. I'm just like, leave me alone. And I'm telling you, like, at least 3 times a week, I get new, they keep creating these profiles and keep sending me messages. And I keep blocking them, but it's getting to the point where I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna have to take like action or something. Because I don't even want to see these pictures. They're so bad.
This might beat the prison mail story. It's pretty good.
Like, so I actually did want to make sure that he wasn't being framed. So I talked to him before I blocked him, and I was like, hey, just a heads up, like there's these girls that, have it out for you. And he's like, oh, I've never even heard of those girls. And I was like, well, who's this girl in the picture? He's like, oh, that's my sister. And then that same person sent me another picture of him kissing that girl.
Oh.
And so I'm like, okay, so I know it is legit.
Was he like, hey, Ava, incest is best? It's a game the whole
I
family
never
can play?
questioned him about it. I literally am like, don't have time for it. I just blocked him.
I just picture like this dude in his mom's basement.
Oh
and he
my
has, like,
God.
He has like a shrine.
I know.
covered in
it's
bacon grease.
horrifying.
Covered in bacon grease with nothing on.
It's like almost like a movie 7 element. Like, what's in the box?
And it looks like Freddy Krueger's boiler room. And there's pictures of Ava everywhere.
God, I hope not.
This might
Like my biggest fear.
It was funny. You left elements of that story out when you were like, oh, I got a story. Kind of like how Marissa, when she was on, Marissa was like, yeah, I don't get a lot of crazy DMs, but I did get prison mail. And we were like, what? Like, where was that?
I think that's when you hit the big time.
Oh,
when,
God.
People are
Yeah.
contacting like that.
You
You
made
made it big.
You made it.
Yep.
Somewhere, there's a guy in a basement right now with his sister.
And imagine now he listens and he's like, yeah, she is thinking about me. I am getting to her DMs.
Damn. We
'Cause
gave him-
I don't even acknowledge them. I just delete them, but I still see them pop up. I take screenshots. Like, I've been documenting them.
A few people just commented on YouTube. They threw up in their mouths. Dear Mr. Incest Man, please leave Ava alone. She's
know,
not reading them.
please.
She's just deleting. And if anyone, maybe we'll put the viewers or the followers on him next time. Put his page in your story.
I'm actually tempted to just like post it,
Yeah, you should.
but I feel like people like that, they feed off of that. They
Yeah,
get
it's
off on it.
attention.
Yeah,
It's-
so
it's-
it's like I just try to block them. and-
Any of that stuff is combinations of attention and jealousy. So we've said it all. I'm going to leave it there.
Let's go eat lunch now.
Let's go eat lunch now. Aaron,
Especially since you didn't feed me breakfast.
you were the one who last night said, I'm good with coffee. Did you not say that?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, but
But then I got the
You
list.
said, I'm sleeping till 7:30 and I'm good with coffee.
I didn't say I was, okay, you make me sound like I'm kind of a biatch.
No.
But I got the list this morning, the
You're the
agenda,
guest.
and I was like, oh, okay, it said breakfast on there. I didn't get breakfast.
It was
Even when we drove here, you were eating like some sort of
I
like,
was having an anxiety attack. I had to
okay,
have a
well, that's
protein
cool.
bar.
But
You
you were
always have
eating
one.
like a Quest bar or something. And I was like, cool, you didn't even ask me if I want like
There's a
half
Quest
it.
bar right there. Shameless plug. Let's get food in you. Aaron, closing remarks contest, and we got a nice mat there and Enforce light, and we're giving away some gloves from Suresh.
I have that light, by the way. It's an awesome light.
It is a badass light. Thank you, Matt at Enforce.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. Go follow Enforce Weapon Lights.
Definitely love the guys at Enforce.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm trying to keep my stomach down after hearing that.
Ugh.
I'm getting kind of sick myself.
5-minute break.
I'll show you the picture.
Oh, God, no. All right. With that being said, we want to say special thanks to our sponsors, Kinsey's Optics. Again, always go onto their website. They always have really good deals on the next scopes and anything you want to put on your next build. 221 Be Tactical, they always have really amazing kit. And again, they really focus in and give a good thumbs up to the law enforcement, the first responders, fire, EMS, and the military professionals up there that always want really cool kit. Bang Energy, which kept John pretty
Perky.
yeah, pretty perky. Mark Bell Slingshot, go onto their website. They have some really cool products for those that are all about the gym life and keeping themselves healthy. The Slingshot's not just for the bench, but they also have one for the push-ups. They also have the Circle for the lower part of the body, whichever activates the glutes and keeps everything kind of healthy on that end. Taurus, they always treat us pretty well. Get onto their website. They also have some really amazing pistols and revolvers. They've been around for a hot minute. And what we have, I've been screaming about since earlier, was we have our nice little rifle mat for those to keep your builds nice and clean and keep everything kind of pristine, that we don't scratch and think some stuff up. And of course, the Enforce TFX 700 lumens. I really highly recommend that you get one. I don't have one yet. I know I need to sell my soul for one. And with that being
Take one out of the
said-
pile.
Just take one out of the pile. All right, there's just one over here. Yeah, Haley was hiding it on me.
I already put one in my purse.
Klepto. All right.
Sorry.
And last but not least, we want to say again, thank you, Ava, for coming out here and being really articulate about the knowledge that you have, and just being a really good face for not just women, but also everybody that's out there that's all about getting a part and being a part of the firearms industry. I think it's good across the board. And do us a favor, go onto YouTube, give us a review. We need them. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you do a share on Instagram and or Facebook. And with that being said, we will pick the winner of the contest. And with that being said, we love you. Peace out. We'll catch you on the flip side.